So hello everyone and welcome to today's Thursday Live. I am Denise Armenio. I have Claire McIntyre here with me. She will be manning the chat. So thank you everyone for joining us. If there is anyone that would like to be a volunteer, would love to have you. I see someone in here. Dominique, have you ever been a volunteer before? I just try to, try to keep, yeah. So if we can't find a volunteer for someone that hasn't been a volunteer, then I usually like to just do a group a session just to keep it fair for everybody else. Otherwise, it just gets hard. So, is there anybody who is on right now who has never been a volunteer and would like to be? Let me know in the chat, and then we can start and get things going. In the meantime, while we wait for anybody to reply on that, are there any requests on what you would like to see me work with today? We spent some time last week working on the custom playlists. Does everybody have a good handle on that? And we can address any last minute issues on that. I think we covered it pretty clearly, but if not, happy to answer those questions. Otherwise, we could just jump in. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. And whoops, I have so many notifications on my page. Let me just clear that. So we can do Thursday Live here as our we're working on All of Us today. And which one here do I want to update? I have a couple. Well, I'm just going to use this one with no picture. And I am actually going to bypass the voice and the picture today. It's just, sometimes it just takes away from some of the time. So I'm just going to bypass that. But if you have your own trial at home, or you're just new here, we do recommend that you do a voice imprint. It does enhance the quality of the results. However, if you cannot do a voice or a picture, you still get great results, and so don't panic over that. So I'm just going to bypass that. So for an energetic affirmation, I'm just going to add for all of us here, all energies are, transmuted into the frequency of your love. Help if I could type. And so it is. Okay, so when you type in your affirmation here, what happens once I hit OK is that the genius will translate the written language that I just typed in there into a frequency, and it will be overlaid every time we run frequencies throughout this session. So I'm just going to hit OK. And I'm going to just hit begin analysis in just a second. I just wanted to let you know that everybody that is on the trial version, or if you're watching this and you're on the trial version, or you're new and you're about to get the trial version, when I hit begin analysis, the categories body, biofield, and mind will circulate, and then they'll end up in a particular order. That order is how the genius is seeing the priority of the areas that you should work on. Custom libraries, that banner, well, you'll only see it if you've purchased libraries, created libraries, or a genius user has shared libraries with you. Other than that, we are working with the same exact app. Okay, so I'm just going to hit begin analysis, and I just want to make sure my computer sound is on. Hold on. Okay, so biofield shows up first, body and mind. So the first thing I just want to do here before I get distracted is let's look at the aura picture for the group. And you can get there by clicking on the line that says aura. Okay, so I'm just going to click on hide avatar so we can get a better glance at it. And so the center for the physical aspect of the body is really bright green. That's amazing. You can see also the pink is pretty bright. We do have some muddiness and dirtiness and some black here around it. So there are some definitely negative stuff going on that's out there in all time and space. But definitely from this view, which shows us, you know, our auric field with the different layers, what's around our physical body is pretty good. So good job, everybody. You're doing a good job keeping everything clear. Now I can just switch to the old, and that does look a little murky, but you know, we saw that black in the on the outer layer for all time and space and that fuzziness. So it's not all that surprising that this view is looking like that. What I basically look for sort of at a beginner level is that all four corners are filled with color. That's basically telling us that you're grounded and in your body. In the beginning, it was a little less grounded, almost all the way grounded, but it's pretty murky. So hopefully we can clear some of those energies or at least move them and bring in some, you know, better frequencies in here. So we can check in with that later. The next thing I just want to go over quickly, the numbers and the colors and what they mean. So the Genius uses a numerical value system. It goes from 0 to 777. And that range is divided into 4 different ranges, starting with the lowest range from 0 to 200. And that is blue is used to identify that range from 0 to 200. And items in that range are observed to be chronic energetic disturbances. So anything that's blue or within the range 0 to 100, 0 to 200 has a chronic energetic disturbance. So that can also be observed to be stagnant energy, under energy, and they're going to be causing some kind of crisis on the body. So you definitely would want to work with the blues. The next range goes from 201 to 450. That is represented by the color green. And then we go from there. The next range up goes from 451 to 600. That's represented by the color yellow. And then the highest level, which is from 601 to 777, is represented by the color red. Items in this range are observed to be acute energetic disturbances, meaning the disturbances is here now in the present time. It can also be referred to as heat or inflammation. Also, it could be referred to as over energy. And these items are more than likely causing some kind of stress on your body in the moment. So it is important to work with those. because it's causing a stress, and you want to clear them so it doesn't become a chronic issue. So that is the importance of the red and the blue, and you can work with those very easily by just doing a quick balance, and you can see where the quick balance is at the bottom of the screen. It says quick balance, high-low items only, and you set the timer for the quick balance all the way on the right. You can put it anywhere from 0 minutes, which basically is the manual timer. So the Genius will run the frequencies until you manually stop it. Or you have the choice to move the little circle there, and you could put it anywhere from 1 minute to 30 minutes. So that is how that would work. There is 2 other trays there where you can run frequencies. There is the quick zap, and you can find that up at the top here. It's a white banner, and that you simply can drag and drop the items you want to add in. You can open it by clicking this little drop down arrow, and as you add items, they will show up in this tray. And the timer to set it is this little yellow circle. And again, the timer works the same way as it does for the quick balance. Now the Genius will just run the straight frequencies for each of those items while they are in the quick zap. And lastly, the last tray that you can run frequencies in, and this is the tray I use most frequently, is the main hold tray. And the significance of the main hold tray is that the Genius uses algorithms to look at the relationship between all the items that you drag into that tray. These will all be probabilities, because when you're working in the quantum field, there's no way for sure to have 100% certainty. But the algorithms for the probability are pretty sound results. So anyway, the importance of that is when the Genius looks at the energy of one particular item against yourself to see if it's in balance or out of balance, it comes up with a particular number. So for argument's sake, you can look at, let's just look at sacred geometry. Now that's looking at the generally sacred geometry, because if we clicked on this line, we would see that there are plenty of items in here, and some of them are blue, but not all of them. But when we add, if we added sacred geometry to the main hold tray, when it's in the company of other items, it may not be out of balance, or it may not be as out of balance. It could potentially go from a low to a medium, or a low to a high. And that's just because of the relationship of all the items in that tray. Kind of like, you know, you have 2 kids playing in a sandbox together and they're getting along just fine until 3 other kids come in, and now there's chaos and not everybody is getting along. So you could have been okay, and then maybe when some other items come in, you're not okay. Now, what do the yellow and the green mean? So for me, I like to have a tight range on what's acceptable. So for me, between 400 and 600 value over here, which is basically all your yellows and a little bit of the green on top, from like 400 to 450 are okay. Anything outside of that range, I like to work with. Generally, it's not always set in stone, but generally that's how, what I am looking at. So a lot of the greens, especially the lower ones, they're kind of tinkering on that low range, right? So they're kind of tinkering on being out of balance for a longer period of time. So you may want to work with them depending on what you're working on. So with that, let's go now to how I run a session, and how I would recommend, but I always challenge you to find ways that work for yourself. Everybody follow your intuition. You can't make a mistake here. So your body is intelligent design. It takes in what frequencies it needs, and it will not take in frequencies it doesn't need. So you can have confidence that you're not doing anything that could hurt someone. So the first thing I like to work on always, and in this case, it's the genius is telling us this anyway, is to work with all the items in the biofield. And then I also like to look at the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids from the body. And I will put them all in the main whole tray. I actually have a library that contains all of these that I'm going to show you. But if you don't have that library or you're still in the trial version, you could manually add all of these yourself, as well as the 3 amino acids, vitamins, and minerals from the body. I am going to go straight to the custom libraries. And hit begin analysis. And so, yes, I want to thank Claire for pointing out in the chat. If you haven't seen it, we are doing a group balance for everybody that is here. It is for everybody that is here with us on this Zoom live, and for those that will watch the replay. For those that are here live today, if you could just check in right now, on how you're feeling overall. It would be greatly appreciated if you could put that information in the chat, so we can go back and look at it at the end of the session, but just on a scale of 0 to 10, and you can use this range for anything that you might be considering. I always like to look at 10 as severe. So if you're feeling great, you would be at like a 0. If you're not feeling good, the number would get higher, just so you don't confuse things. So Larry, you're feeling good today. I see that little correction there. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Okay, awesome. But anybody else, if you want to, if it's pain, well-being, emotional, whatever kind of symptoms. Dominique, what is something that you're experiencing that you would like to see improved? Andrea, the same with you. I know that you're at a 2, so that's relatively good. Just trying to tap in with all of you. So hopefully we can get some positive results. And also it will help guide me whether we need to go to pain libraries, emotional libraries, or just general biofield, and dig a little deeper on there. So any input you can give is greatly appreciated on, what's Claire, pain and inflammation. Got it. Dominant headache, earache, confusion, really tired, neuropathy. Okay, so we are definitely working on some pain. So I will get that in there. Now I am just going to go. Now I ran the balance on all the libraries. And there is a little tab in the center, this black with like a little arrow. I can click on that, and this allows me to search all these libraries. And I'm just going to hit the magnifying glass and type in Bioterrain. And that first library, which says vessel priming frequencies, it also says begin. That's where I always like to start, because that has all the elements from the biofield, as well as the vitamins, minerals, amino acids. And then I've added in a few extra things that are really good to just help get your body in the best physical condition as possible initially. So I'm just going to highlight that line. And this is a little tip to be a little easier. If you can click on the line of the library title and just drag it down, it will add all the items right into the main whole tray. So you can see if I click on that arrow, there are all these items in here. So I'm just going to close that now. And now all the way to the right, you can see like that little play button. I'm going to press on that, and that will bring us to the Progressive Insights. Progressive Insights is part of the main hold tray. And this is here. This is where the Genius runs the algorithms to look at the relationship of all these items in the tray. So I'm just going to hit begin analysis. Okay, so we see all the items now have been listed, and the Genius sorts them into 3 different groups: high, medium, and low. I like to look at the highs, like the highs that we see on the system overview, and the lows that are the lows on the system overview. So within that range. And the medium is kind of like your yellows and your greens, or that's how I choose to look at them. And I hold that intention on, that's how I would like to work with them. So I always like to start off by setting the timer for 1 minute, and I'll select all and hit play. Okay, so the Genius is telling us that we did excellent and we responded positively. And that is because our average percent rectification is above 40%. So you can see that the average percent rectification is 49%, which that's a really excellent percentage. I do suggest and recommend, though, that you also look at the percentages of the 3 items that make up that average percent. And the lowest is 34% and the highest is 60%. Generally, I don't like to see that range to be greater than 20%. And the reason being is that it's not as stable and it could go out of balance a lot easier. So even though this is 49%, I would run that again, because what we're running are really important. These are the basic things that we need to strengthen our biofield and the essential nutrients that our cells need with the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. So what I would do from here is I would deselect all of them so everything's clear now. And now I would choose to either work with just the lows or the lows and the highs. Sometimes it's a function of, if you have a lot of items that you're working with, it's better to break it down to just work with the lows first, then you could work with the highs. I am going to do that right now. So we're going to start working with the lows. I'm going to move the timer to 0 minutes. And this way, I'm just going to run the Genius for 30 seconds and see if we can get those percentages up and within that range of 20.
Would you rescan it too?
One second, Larry, I'll answer your question. Okay, awesome. So now we have, for just the lows, the average percent rectification is 50%. That's great. And it goes from 45 to 54. So that's really tight. It's pretty stable. And I love that. Now, Larry asked a great question. Just before this, when I ran all of them and I had a 49% rectification, would I rescan it? The reason I didn't rescan it is because that range was greater than 20. Had it been within 20, I would have rescanned it. So that's generally my thoughts. Again, nothing here is set in stone. This is just kind of the system I've worked out for myself. But sometimes if I get, an intuitive hit to do something and rescan it, I might do it different than what I normally do it with. So you have a lot of creativity here to run things how you would like to do it. I'm just trying to give you a little bit of a guide because sometimes we need a little bit of a framework to get started in the beginning, but always, this is follow your intuition and to work with this. So Andrea is asking, what number should we be over? So Andrea, great question. So between 20 and 40% is considered a good rectification. Anything over 40% is considered an excellent rectification. So I do like to look, hopefully, to get above 40%, but I wouldn't just keep running frequencies on someone over and over if they didn't seem to be budging. You may need to go to another area to work with that and then go back to it. So sometimes it's just a little bit of trial and error. Sometimes it just takes one solution to be added. And what I mean by solution is possibly essential oil or an herb or something to add to it that will help move things along and get it over that edge. Also, a lot of times I find if the average percent rectification is low and it keeps low, sometimes the client might be dehydrated. So I would ask them to drink some water. Or oftentimes maybe you're working with too many items. And so to make the amount of groups that you're working with smaller. How do you figure out what essential oils or supplements your body wants? Well, the minerals are in here. All the supplements would be already in this if you added the minerals, amino acids and vitamins. But if you wanted to look at the essential oils, you could, again, I would go to the one that your eye is first drawn to. If you muscle test for it, you might want to put in one of the blues or maybe put one of the ones that are in the yellow and green. But, again, even if it's in the yellow, which says that it would be balanced, when you get it into the progressive insights, it may not be balanced anymore. The other thing you could always do is put in, again, but not everybody would have this. You could put in a Bach flower essence. Again, I would just choose whichever one your eye is drawn to first, because that's a lot of time is your intuition telling you which one it wants to use. So, or you could put in 528 from the Saveggios. There's a number of different things that you could add in to try to just mix things up a bit. But again, the 528 and anything from the biofield is already in this first step that I do. And that is why I suggested either the herbs or the essential oils. I could have also suggested the Bach flower essences because they are not in this this library set here. So I hope that helped. So now I'm going to deselect the lows and select the highs and run that again for 30 seconds. Okay, awesome. So again, we have a great average percent rectification of 61%. And if you look at harmony, alignment, energy flow, that range is really tight because the low is 54 and it goes to 66. So that's well within the 20, that range of 20 that I was talking about. Another great question in the comments from Andrea. She's asking if her minerals is high, let's say for iron, does it mean that she has too much and should she stop taking it? No, that's not what the highs and the lows mean. The highs simply mean that it's been out of balance, that it's out of balance currently. And the blues, even though it's a low number, means that it's been out of balance for a longer period of time. It's not looking at it as that it's in excess or a deficiency. So it's just the highs and the lows just are telling you how long it's been out of balance for. Larry is asking, how do I determine how long I run the sessions for? I don't really like to run the sessions very long if I don't have to. The body can respond really quickly to only, a minute, less than a minute. So I don't want to give it too many, run it for too long if I don't need to. So I start off low, like you can see. That's why I always do all of them for 1 minute to make sure that I'm getting to all of them. And then I'll, try to do it at 30-second increments. Sometimes, again, guys, some of you are going to have trust a little bit more into your intuitive side. If you think that you only need to run it for 5 seconds, only run it for 5 seconds. It doesn't hurt. If the percentage is low, you could always run it again. But in this case, I don't think more generally means better if you run it for longer periods of time. There are times when it may be more beneficial, like if it's you just fell and your ankle is swollen or something's going on there, or you just got sick and you want to keep sending all those frequencies to yourself. But generally, I find that shorter bursts of time are pretty efficient. Okay, so I'm really happy with this first part, working with, since we got the highs and the lows at a high percentage rate. So I am going to go back now to the system overview page. We can go down to the bottom where the main hold tray is, and I'm just going to select clear all, where you can see that on the top right corner, and empty that. And now my step 2 is the general overview. This is one of my favorite parts. The general overview, and you'll see in just a second, will take all the line items out of their categories and put everything in numerical order. So it keeps you from going in and out of all these different panels. And you can see right away what your highs and your lows are. Now, for me, I do have a lot of panels. So when I say panels, libraries, we use that word interchangeably. So the general overview will include everything from the system overview page, all those line items, and all the line items from your custom library. So like I was saying, in my case, I have a lot of panels, over 2,000. So I could have upwards of like 80,000 line items, and that's way too many to work with at one time. So the way I work with the general overview will be slightly different than you may choose to work with it, just because of the amount of line items that I'm working with. So here you can see right away, it starts with all the highs. I do like to change that view, and I can do that by up at the top. You see it says 0 to 100. If I just click on that, it will show me all the lows, all the items that are in the blue. So these are all the items that have been out of balance for chronically, for a longer period of time. And these very likely are your underlying causes or your root causes to many of the symptoms you may be experiencing, or to other issues where you're not really experiencing a symptom as of yet, but they are really important to work with. So Again, if you only have a few libraries, you may want to add in all the blues. That's not an option for me here because again, there would be way too many. And just to do a little exercise here, if I were to add all the blue items, I have almost 4,000 items. I don't want to add all that many. That was just too many on your body. So I'm just going to clear all that. And what I would do in this situation is I would just add the bottom 50. So the 50 here is what I'm going to add. And then I would go to the remove. Well, because this is a demo, I'm also going to add the top 50, which would be the reds. And then I'm going to remove my libraries. And now we're just working with all the line items from the general overview page. So this is going to make the main whole tray a little heavy. I am going to add all the blues now, which again are just the blues from the system overview. And I'm going to add the reds. So again, I don't normally like to work with more than 200 to 250 items, but because this is a demo, I've added them in and I'm going to break it down into lows and highs. So that amount will get less. Okay, so I am going to select all, and I know that there's, 362, I think we said, but I'm just going to run them for 1 minute. Okay, so everybody did really well here. The average percent rectification was 60%, and it goes from 58 to 61. That's really good and really solid. I'm even wondering if we should even rescan it, and maybe I'll rescan it. And because it's a demo and we don't have a lot of time, I'm just going to select the lows and I'm just going to work with the lows for 30 seconds. If I had more time, I would probably do the highs and the lows, but we had such a great percent rectification and it was so tight. I'm really happy with those results. Whoops. Are the lows selected? Okay, there they are. Okay, this is a little lower percent rectification, but it's still pretty tight. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to back out of here now. And I'm going to go to the system overview page. And I am going to, again, bring up the main whole tray so I can clear all these items. Now, after I've done these first 2 steps, I always like everybody to check back in and to just see how they're feeling based on how they were feeling right before I started to see if there's any improvement. And the reason why I do this is because just to bring awareness and to be mindful of how powerful these first two steps really are. And even before you work with any specific symptoms, you can feel better. Now, Barbara, I don't think she had any change. She's dealing with some neuropathy, I believe. So maybe, Larry, you're still a 0. Well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't get any worse. Anyone else? Dominique, how are you doing? Any change in any of your symptoms? Or Claire, any change in any of your, I see you, Methan? Okay, so from here, I'm just going to go to the custom libraries. And I'm going to go right to the pain library. And I'm going to, oh, and Barbara, you improved by 1. Yay, good. I'm happy. And Dominique went down from a 9 to a 7. So that is really good. So I'm going to add the blue and the green items and the red items. And the other place I'm going to go to, I think I'm going to go to the Bioterrain because I think some of those other issues, yeah, I see some Lyme parasites. Andrea has some tingling. Hopefully that we can address with the pain, but let's just see what's showing up in the Bioterrain panel. I like to look first at like where the blues are showing up and which maybe, you know, the lower the number, just to get a sense. I also kind of want to work, especially since this is a demo, on some solutions. So I'm kind of, and I have 140 items already in the tray here. So the solutions are going to work with a lot of the items that are in this panel to begin with. So I am going to work there. And also I see the pH balance is pretty low. So I'm going to open that up and I'm going to I am just actually going to add everything in here. And then I'm going to add in the sound, color, and elements. And it's not letting me, oh, there we go. And I'm going to add all of those. And so there we're at 171 items. And then I'm just going to add the GI track. And again, I'm going to add everything in there because we want everything in that GI track to be healthy. And lastly, I'm just going to go to the human body structure because I have something for veins. And for those that are having tingling and neuropathy, I want to see if we can get blood circulation. So I'm just going to add the blues. And I'm going to add the reds on this one. Okay, and now we can run a balance on this. So now I can just hit begin analysis. And again, I'm going to move the timer to 1 minute, select all, and hit play. So we're at 34%, which is good, not excellent, but good. And the range goes from 26 to 41. So that's within that 20%, but it's still on the lower side. So for me, I would deselect all of them, and I'm going to run the highs and the lows. And I'm going to put it on 0 minutes and just run this for 30 seconds and see if I can get that number up. Okay, so we're at a 50% rectification, and the harmony, alignment, energy flow, that goes from a 46, and then alignment and energy flow are both at 53. So that's really great. I'm really happy with those numbers. Has anyone, Claire, how are you doing? Did you notice any difference after that? Any shift in any of your pain that you're having?
Not noticeably, but I yawned. I'm sure I yawned during that.
So do you
Feet-
know have a delayed, like, does it take you a little? Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that happened to you.
generally the next day.
So everybody out there, when you're working with clients, not everybody responds immediately to the frequencies. Sometimes they need like overnight to have them take an effect, that recharge when we sleep, or just it may just take a little bit longer. So because your client may not see a change right away, doesn't mean there's not going to be a change. So, you can talk to them about them and let them know that some people see shifts right away and some people need a day, even sometimes more than a day, for it to all shift in. Also, depending on how well you're hydrated is going to make is going to depend on the effectiveness. The more hydrated you are, the more effective this will be, and your body can take in these frequencies. So maybe if someone's dehydrated, they're not going to take all those frequencies in all the way. Anyone else? Barbara, how did yours go down anymore from the 3? Oh, I just see you now. 1, awesome. Oh no, that was the same. Oh, you're saying you're improved 1. Okay. Dominique, what about you? Are you still at a 7? Your ears are better. 5 out of 10. Great. So we're seeing some good improvement there. That's awesome. So what I'd like to do at this point is I'm going to clear the main hold tray. And I'm going to go back to the Bioterrain. And for anybody that has the Bioterrain package, you will notice that I have finish, I have begin written next to vessel priming frequencies, and I have finish next to bacterial for normal intestinals. That would be like your probiotics. So I like to add those in. And restoring homeostasis, there's like 3 items in here. I like to add those in. But then I also like to work with some of the grounding frequencies. So I'm just going to work with some of these gemstones. So I'm going to add in the blue and the red items here. And we can add in some of these flower essences as well. I'm just going to add the blue ones. Oh, and Claire's saying you identified with a lot of the items that were high. Okay, great. So I've added some of these items in now into the main hold tray so that it can like kind of help ground us and all these frequencies. I'm gonna select all, and I'm just gonna leave it at 0. We're kind of going at top of the hour right now, so let's see how we do with only 30 seconds of running these. Okay, so really, well, again, a 60 average percent rectification is 60%. So it goes a little bit over that 20%. I'm gonna go look at what our aura looks like, and then we can come back to this. So let's just see what type of shifts we are seeing with the aura. Again, sometimes when we're working with a lot of frequencies, sometimes things may look worse. Sometimes they could look better. It's not a determinant of if you improved or didn't improve. It's just showing how the energy is changing. And again, this is a probability. Okay, so again, this looks a little bit murky. If you remember, the old version was a little murky. You still have that green, but again, you can see some icky stuff in there. Again, we weren't so grounded. It looks like we're getting more grounded. I would run this again, and I might just add in here the neurotransmitters, and then the blue and the red emotions, just to see if we can work with it. Again, I'm only going to do it on 30 seconds, but I am going to select all. So good job here. Let's just go see what the aura looks like now. Play. Okay, so this is looking better to me. So we have some green. There's still that fuzziness. And it's a little bit pale on the outside, so maybe not getting as much energy, but it definitely looks brighter to me. But there's probably still some negative energies in there. The old version looks okay. This looks maybe not so great right here. And again, a little bit pulling from the corners, but this looks much better to me as well. Some healing green energy is coming in. So overall, I do think that the auras look better. Although even if it didn't look better, it's not a determinant of not having any improvement. So lastly, before we end today's Thursday live, does anybody who rated themselves before, how are you feeling now? Andrea, how are you feeling? I don't remember seeing if you gave a number or not. do you feel any improvement? I don't know if with what you put down, you had mentioned Lyme parasites, tiredness, tingling in fingers. You're not as tired. Okay, well, great. So that is good. Tingling is the same. Sometimes, you know, you need to work a little bit more on some of these things. And if there's inflammation, you know, the Genius is awesome. It's not going to be a quick fix or a red pill for anyone. Even if you see improvement, we need to work on, you know, maintaining and part of, you know, a lifestyle change working with the Genius just to help keep all those frequencies that throw us back out or out of balance. Yes, and Barbara saying the tingling in fingers can be spinal. It can be. We can look at that really quickly if everybody has a few minutes. I'll just hold on. I'm just going to add in all the spinal energy. Yes, and I hope that you would. We love having you. And also, every 2 weeks on Wednesdays. So I think next Wednesday, I'm also on with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and we do Mythbusters. So please tune in Wednesdays too. Would love to have you. We deal on a lot of fun things. This week I'll be working with muscle testing. So if anybody's interested in learning a little bit on how to muscle test, please join us. Would love to see you there. Okay, I'm gonna just click all of these for 30 seconds. 11 a.m. at Denise at Inside Hill Facts. Okay, so the average percent rectification on that was 49, which is great. We have a few questions. Yes, thank you, Claire. If you sign up for Mighty Networks in the events, it will have the registration link for the Wednesdays and the Thursdays. So please do register. And then it will put it on your calendar if you select that so you can remember it. And you will also have the Zoom link handy because it'll put it in your calendar. So I would recommend doing that. And I think it asks you when you register, like, do you just want to register for that class or all of them? Maybe you want to select all of them so that it will be on your calendar every week. And it's a nice little reminder for you for that. We can just go back and look quickly. On Andrea or Barbara or anyone who has a neuropathy. This center doesn't look so great right now, but you know, we just ran with some other stuff. We do see some, you know, this blue is a good blue for energies coming in. Fuzzy though, so again, I would say that there's still some really negative stuff. And we are on a Zoom, so sometimes, you know, we could pass some negative energies around a little bit. Andrea's, you could not load networks for some reason. I would just try again. I'm not really sure why that would be. It's ilovemygenius.com. You could sign into that to sign up, maybe uninstall the app and reinstall it. But anyway, it is, we are at after 3. So everybody, thank you. I'm sorry we went a little bit over time. I do try to keep it to just an hour so that everybody can plan their day, but I appreciate you staying with me and with Claire. Thank you for helping out on the chat. And we look forward to seeing everybody next week. So have a great weekend, great week, everybody. And we'll see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.